Hello.
Hello, good evening. Happy Sunday to you all. We are back.
Sunday night.
Hello, good evening.
Happy Sunday. We did that last week as well.
Got some extra sound.
We had our Facebook on in the background.
Hearing us once isn't enough. You need to hear us
so
twice.
we're super pro at this now. Only been going like 6 months. That's all good. But we hope this afternoon you had a really good Sunday. You enjoyed the sunshine. It was sunny. It was warm.
Yes.
Which I think is probably, well, it's very rare in this country. But certainly it feels like a long time. With that little blip about 6 weeks ago where it was sunny for about a week, and you think, yeah, spring's here, and then
before it got cold again
and wet. So
hopefully, though, spring is now here and rolling into summer, so that will be
fingers
very
crossed,
good. Although,
because we're going camping soon.
As a massive hay fever sufferer, not loving it already. So, sending lots of love to all of you hay fever sufferers. We've got Nikki with us. Hi, Nikki. And I think I saw Tracy pop up on Facebook as well earlier. So that's good. Nice to see you. If you are watching, then please say hi to us because it makes us feel loved and special.
Also,
and not alone.
Yeah, not we're just talking to ourselves. The camera in our kitchen.
Indeed. So let's get some other people up here, shall we? We have got with us Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
After a week off last week.
Did you enjoy your evening off last weekend?
Yes, I did actually. It was quite nice actually. It was interesting being on the other side of just watching, not actually being part of it. It was quite weird actually.
Lovely. That's good.
You were sufficiently recovered from your youth weekend?
Yeah, I mean, my thighs are no longer killing me after all that running on the Saturday, so that stopped about Tuesday, which is great fun.
Welcome to being old, Hannah.
Yes.
That's going to, everybody needs to exercise now. That's basically going to be that 2 days.
That's just life.
After.
Indeed. Right, we've got Tracy with us. We have got Sally with us. And also we have got Enoch with us. I'm trying to do it as I say it so that it comes up in the right order, okay?
I think
it's good to see you all. Well. Okay. Also with us this evening, we have got Tim gazing out of his window into the distance.
How do you do that, Tim? You've got like the sunlight on your head there.
Well, the radiant shining of the Lord just always my presence wherever I go. Have you not noticed that? Wherever I go, the pillar of the Lord's light follows.
Oh my days. Have you had a good afternoon, Tim? Have you had a good afternoon?
Yeah, we had some friends over this afternoon from church, which was good. So we had sat and chatted and ate some good food, which was good. Yeah. So now it's into this. So it's good. It's good. It's been a good day. Nice Sunday.
Yeah.
Good.
Very good.
We did have lots of fun this afternoon, didn't we? Well, we basically just sat, ate and chatted and all the kids played, which is just perfect. So that's yeah.
Did you and this is an important question I'd like to know out there from our many listeners, nap or no nap? Ooh. That's important. Did you get your Sunday afternoon nap? I managed to. We had a bit of a break between church when our friends came over, and I managed to get in a good half an hour. Just lay down the sofa, bang, half an hour nap. Best bit of my day. Sorry, I know I went to church this morning and I'm here with you, but I just love an afternoon nap.
You do also acquire the really good skill of switching off and going to sleep wherever, in whatever position you happen to be in, which not a lot of people have that skill. So, you know.
I want to know from our beloved listeners, nap or no nap. Come on.
Nap or no nap. Come on,
maybe
people.
Nap or no nap. Come on.
I'm in the no nap camp. I can't nap, Tim. I've tried.
Oh, look. See, Tano got a 5-minute nap. Lena got a nap. Look, see.
I love it. I can do that. Wasn't me. Mark's cross at me because he thinks I pressed buttons, but I didn't.
Oh,
you're trying to get a nap. Oh, you're letting the team down.
No.
I did. No.
You didn't even try for a nap.
I don't bother with nap. I can't. I just get stressed trying to nap, and then it just annoys me. So I don't bother.
The best bit about Sunday afternoon is a guilt-free nap.
It's only guilt-free if somebody in the household isn't having to do the other things that need doing, don't they?
See? Sally's a napper.
Definitely after a Sunday roast. Where was my Sunday roast, Sally? If you're cooking one, I feel like that's friend neglect not bringing me a Sunday roast if you're making it.
Yeah.
There we go. There we are.
Good. What about you, Hannah? You nap? No nap?
I can't sleep during the day, so I'm not a napper in the slightest. But if I could sleep during the day, I would quite happily take a nap, especially after a Sunday morning. So
we work quite hard on Sunday mornings. So
Nikki loves a nap. Yes, Nikki. I love a nap if I can get, enough. A lot of it is getting enough space to get a nap, isn't it?
Okay. But Tim, when you nap, do you have silence? Because Alice will turn the TV on and then nap in front of the TV, which I don't get.
I love a TV nap. That's the way forward.
The best thing about a TV nap is that you go to sleep and then occasionally you come to if something interesting happens and you kind of judge how long you've been asleep by that. Yeah. So sometimes the danger with a silent nap is you go deep.
Yes.
You go deep. And when you go deep, you go long. Deep and long is bad. Nap should be. I once read a book that encouraged something called the Nappuccino. Right? Do you want to hear about the Nappuccino? So the Nappuccino. So basically, it takes caffeine about 20 minutes to hit your system, right, to kick you in. So what you need to do is an afternoon. Don't laugh, Hannah. Right? This is scientifically proven. Right? What you do out there, all you listeners that tuned in for spiritual input today, you need to learn about the Nappuccino. So what you do is you have a cup of coffee or tea. Right, and then you go to sleep literally straight away because your caffeine won't kick in, and then you come to about 15-20 minutes later, and the benefit of the nap and the caffeine kicks in at the same time, and you're ready to go. That's the Nappuccino.
There's too much thinking involved in that nap. We've got Charlotte Cox saying, no nap, my kids would kill each other, but I would love to have one. I think there are probably a lot of mums that are with you on that, Charlotte, to be fair. There must be several.
But I would say if anybody tries the Nappuccino this week, please let us know if it works.
Yes, indeed. We need to get some of our own evidence for this scientific nap.
It's one of those things where someone's come up with this idea of just having coffee in a nap, basically like, oh yeah, if I put it together, then it's a really good idea.
I'm not doing it. Okay, we need to move on probably. So some of us have wasted our time and our energy this afternoon ignoring each other and having a nap. Other people have used their energy and time looking after their children and stopping them from killing each other. Sounds life-changing. Nappuccino. Enoch.
Yes, mate. Yes, Enoch. Yes, my son.
It's not something to encourage him.
Please, Enoch, try it.
The people are with me. You see, Marie is a proficient napper. Sometimes Marie even napped on online church. I remember once we were in a devotional meeting and suddenly we saw that Marie's camera was still on, but Marie wasn't there, and I'm sure she just about 20 minutes later. Oh, I'm sorry, I fell asleep. See, Marie's a pro napper.
I love it.
No.
It's good.
See, look, can I say there's a lot of love? I'm concerned. I can see the logic. Don't be concerned about the logic of a Nappuccino. There's a real thing. It's a real thing.
It is, because I've just looked it up actually.
Thank you, Hannah.
Decided to Google it out of curiosity. It's just like,
yes.
Apparently it is actually a thing. It's slightly weird.
Not good. Okay, so tonight's topic is why bother giving up your time? Why bother serving? Why bother volunteering? So there is a bit of a wider title than just giving up time. And Tim is going to be asking us some questions and helping us shape conversation around that. And then we do have a song which we'll put in somewhere for a small break in the middle, let you have a breather and rest your feet and your heads. And then at the end, we'd love to pray for you. So if there's something that comes up through the evening that we can pray for, or if there is something just completely off topic, completely unrelated, we would also really love to pray for you as well. So you can use our WhatsApp number, or you can Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and we will do that. Even if we don't do it online, we will remember you through the week at some point. So
well tonight, rather than us asking the questions, we thought let's kind of do it so that we can kind of have a mix. And we thought Tim could kind of interview us as opposed to us interviewing Tim or interviewing other people. So, Tim, I'm going to hand over to you, and we'll let Hannah kind of go and hide herself.
Bye.
Yeah.
So the subject tonight is, the subject tonight is basically why bother, because that's the theme, isn't it? Why bother serving in church? Yeah. Why bother giving up your time? Why bother giving up your effort? All of that kind of stuff. And so I guess we're going to look at it from a couple of different angles. We're going to look at it from the angle of like the spiritual angle, sort of why spiritually should we bother doing that kind of stuff? And then, why from a personal point of view in terms of a kind of personal growth element, but also kind of other just practical things around, well, how do you go about doing that? How do you make sure you serve without getting burned out? And I think it's fair to say, isn't it, that we're living in a society, in a culture which is very busy. We're not living in kind of, rural kind of America or something where, people have got nothing to do and there's not a lot going on or whatever. Our lives are hectic and busy. And so actually, like, it's hard, isn't it? Kids have got clubs and, we've got, other activities going on and Netflix series to binge through.
Yeah.
So I suppose my first question then is like, what's the hardest thing, do you think? Like, how do you find serving? I suppose what do you find serving in the church a burden? Do you find it a burden? Do you find it challenging? Like, you guys give up an awful lot. These guys give up a lot of their time, and maybe they're just freaks.
What?
No, not freaks. I don't think freaks.
Not freaks. Yeah.
I don't think we find it a burden giving up time. I think sometimes it can feel like a burden. It depends what you're giving your time up for, and and the reason that you are giving up your time.
Yeah. I mean, I think, being honest, most of the time it's all right. I mean, partly I think both of us, when we've grown up, our parents were like super. I think both sets of our parents were very generous with their time and with their serving for church and Christian stuff, and so we've kind of grown up with it. So it's not something that's kind of new to us.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of always had that heart, or kind of, it's always been part of our upbringing. And so in some ways it's easy, but I think that the challenge is, I think, with that is just to say, well, you just always do it. But I think we do love it. I think it's part of me. I can't come on here and say, well, we hate serving. It's a real challenge for us. It's doing it. I think we for the most part, we quite enjoy it. There's part of me that does enjoy kind of getting to church early and help doing stuff and getting stuck in with different things. But again, it also would be a lie to say that all the time doing it is fantastic and we never miss it. Or we at times don't find it difficult. I think the hardest thing is giving up your own time and having to sacrifice other stuff. Like, I mean, I love to talk about this. Alice gets fed up with me, but we're doing a cycling trip, Tim, as you well know, in what is 5 weeks' time. And so for that, part of the training, you have to obviously give some time to do that. But if I didn't have church, then I could go out kind of every Sunday. I mean, I've got a friend at work who loves cycling, and basically every Sunday morning he goes out for like 100-kilometre bike ride with his mate. And you think, well, if I wasn't so involved with church, you could give up time to do that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I think that's the hardest thing, of having to then lose out on other stuff. And yeah, but I think for the most part, everything we quite enjoy. But I think there's other deeper reasons than we're just really lovely people who love being super generous. Because that's, for those who've known me, that's not really my natural state to be like that. But yeah.
Good. So I want to before we move on, I want to ask our audience a question, because we're going to explore this subject in a bit more depth. But the question is simply this: what stops you serving in church? So, what prevents you from serving? Is it time? Is it you're not sure what to do? Is it that you don't feel adequate? Is it that you assume that all the jobs are being filled? So I'd love to know what you guys think. All those of you listening out there, So tell us what you think, and we'll kind of feed those into our kind of conversation. But what is it that stops you, or maybe I shouldn't put stops, what is it hinders you or is a barrier to serving in church maybe as much as you'd like? But yeah, so Mark, while we're waiting for the answers to some of those questions to come in, let's kind of explore this kind of idea a bit more that you kind of raised about, obviously you enjoy giving up your time, but so from a spiritual point of view, like let me ask this question. So my boys play a lot of cricket. They play a lot of cricket and they play at the local club. And I was chatting to a guy this week, a lovely guy who manages, I think, at least one, maybe two teams, and his kids play as well. And he's literally at the cricket club like 4 or 5 nights a week and at weekends. He's very committed. He runs a really successful business, and so he has to leave early from work. So it's a lot of impact on his time. Obviously, he doesn't see his wife as much, But so he's serving, he's giving himself. What's the difference between doing that and doing it in the church? Are we just asking people to volunteer, or why is there? What's different about serving and volunteering at the local cricket club or the local park run versus serving in the church? Is there any difference? Is it just a case of we need people to make up the numbers?
That's an excellent question, Tim. And I think it's a challenge really for those of us as Christians to sort of say, well, what is the difference? Or because, there's a lot of people out there who are really generous with their time, whether it's, as you say, for cricket clubs or through charity work and for other things. And I think, because I think on the face of it, you can kind of say, we need volunteers to run the church and to do stuff. But I think that for me, I think there's a much deeper thing going on when we as Christians, we come and we serve in the church or serve works for God. Because it's not just, us just kind of giving up our time to be nice people. I think sometimes people can think of Christians as being, they're really nice people because they like to help out and they like to do stuff. And I think in some ways that's like, if it was just to be a nice person, I wouldn't be giving up a lot of my time to do some of these things. And for me, I think the challenge comes about it's the heart behind it. And I'm not trying to have a go at anybody else, or I'm not having a go at all. I'm just saying for me as a Christian, and for me personally, I serve because I love God and I love Jesus, and that's what I want to live my life. And that's what I've given my life to do. And so part of that is that there's a couple of things really, is that I think partly God wants to come and work in us and work through us. I think this is such an important thing that being a Christian isn't just like you're part of a club and that you're part of the church and you're doing this, but you know God and you're in that kind of friendship and that relationship with him. But it's not just about knowing him, it's about him taking you on and working in you and seeing him move in your life and him kind of growing in you. And as part of that, I think you do this as God puts you in situations where he wants you to go and serve in order to kind of grow you and to take you on. And sometimes, and in particular, I think the difference is between when you do it because it's something you'd like to do because you like to help out a charity. It's almost like you're doing it because that's what you enjoy. And I'm not saying everyone's motivations like that. I'm sure lots of people who volunteer their time and do things they don't enjoy doing. But I think you're not doing it for yourself or for things, you're doing it for God. And this is where I think the bigger thing that comes in for me, it's a response to him. It's a response of love to him and say, well, I love God and this is what my life's about. And I want to go and love him and serve him. And so therefore I'm going to give up myself because this is what we love. And I think ultimately, like that, your friend who does the cricket club, I'm sure he would talk about, and if you took him out for a coffee or out for a pint and you said, tell me about the cricket club, he would sit there and he would talk about how he really kind of enjoys it, or it's kind of his passion. And that's really for me is that my love is for God, and that's what that's how I kind of want to live my life. And so therefore that's kind of what I want to give my life to. And I think this is, but I think it goes even deeper. I mean, Jesus said this Bible verse to his disciples when he was talking to them. He said, by this, all men, as in all men and women, will know that you're my disciples, i.e. you're my followers, by the fact that you love one another. And I think it's not just a call on us to serve, but it's a call to love. and it's a call to love one another and to love people through this, and to love other Christians and love those outside who are not just Christians, but to do this and to show God's love to people. And it is difficult, because I think it's like, for me, if at times you do find church difficult, and you find serving difficult, and you find people difficult, and you find situations difficult, and the natural thing would be to kind of like walk away from it. But a part of me that just can't, because it's my call is that you're there to kind of go deeper and to love people and to love even when it's really difficult. And in that moment, that's where you find God really works in you and really sometimes does amazing things in situations in your life, because you are choosing to serve and to love, and not just to kind of walk away.
Yeah. So I think, so Mark, what I did was, while you were talking, and please keep your comments. I'm loving these comments that are coming in. You know, these comments, because we're going to pick up on, there's a few comments, one from Nikki, one from Marie, Tracy, Charlotte. So we're going to pick up on those in a moment. But I just wanted to summarize really what you've said, because you actually added quite a lot in there. Very short. No, it's fine. It's fine. I think the first thing you said, just to summarize, was that the reason we serve is because it's our worship. We worship God in the way that we. So Romans chapter 12, verse 1 says, remind what it says. Be transformed with the ring. Go on. Someone. I know the scripture, but I can't remember. Let me just read. I've just suddenly completely gone to pieces. It says, it says, I see it. Therefore, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, I urge you to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy, pleasing to God. This is your true worship. So if you want, so Romans chapter 12, guys, verse 1, it says worship. That's why we serve, because it's our worship to God. The second thing you said, Mark, is it grows us spiritually because it's hard. Yeah. You know, when it's tough and you don't want to go and people are difficult and rude to you, it grows us spiritually when you have to serve in that environment. The third thing you said, amongst many things, is it's dying to ourselves like Jesus did. We don't live for us, but for others. So there's a selflessness to serving, which I think, you know, you talked about being quite powerful. You talked about making a difference to other people's lives. So actually, like, there's something really meaningful. It's all good serving the cricket club, which is lovely. But probably, I suppose you're making a little bit of a difference to kids and giving them a chance to play cricket or football or whatever. But actually, when you serve in the church, you're genuinely making a massive difference to people's lives, like you guys were talking about this morning with Sally. And lastly, you made this point about loving God. By this will all men know you're my disciples, that we love one another, is that when we show God's love to the world through serving in the church, when they look at the church, I think these guys lay down their lives for each other, it demonstrates God's love to the world, doesn't it? So, sorry, I just banged those up on some points, Mark. You had a lot of content there, and I was making notes. But I think what you're kind of saying, isn't it? I don't know if you want to comment on this, Alice.
No, yeah.
Go on, Mark. What was that?
No, it was great summary of what I said there, Tim.
But really, I mean, the thing about Alice, I think this is the point, isn't it, Alice? Is that, like, it's not just serving in a kind of volunteer club. It's significant. Serving in the church and serving for God in those ways, it's on another level somehow, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, because you're not just doing it for human praise, for human for your worth isn't in what people think of you. So you're not doing it to achieve kind of status or people thinking you're amazing. That's not the point of it at all. The point is that you're actually doing it from a place of kind of like putting yourself to the side, almost, I think, because what you are doing is actually, it's helping other people. Yes, it is encouraging other people. Yes, it may be something in church on a Sunday, or it could be, I don't know, it could be going and unplugging a washing machine and helping someone get rid of all the stinky water from it. And, you know, it could be something really unglamorous. It's not, it's not about glorifying yourself. It's about actually this is something that needs doing. God has given me the ability to do it. And because I love God, I love people, and therefore what I do is going to be an outworking of that.
Yeah,
you know.
I think the thing that I think I just want to sort of finish this with, because sometimes the things I've said there can sometimes sound a little bit like, oh, not that amazing. But I think the most amazing thing about when you serve God, because ultimately it's not about serving other people, you're doing it for God.
Yeah.
And even you can sometimes, at times, it might sound like, oh, you lose out, or it's kind of all these big ideas, but actually you find, I'm not saying everything you do, you always find the amazingness of like God in it, but you'd be surprised actually. And there's part of me that just loves it, not because I love doing these things, but just saying inside me, which kind of, because God's kind of done that, and it's the finding, and it's the blessings you get from that. And I'm sure this is, again, you talk to lots of people who volunteer and they say, oh, I really get something out of this by blessing, and that's a real godly thing, and that's something that kind of God's put in us. And it's, but and I think by doing it through God is you'd be surprised actually. Sometimes it's hard work, but you kind of really get there's something, it's hard to kind of describe it really, but it's just it talks about the Bible, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And I think that's true when you kind of, in your service of this, that actually it's something that it's hard, but it's so, I think, rewarding, but not everyone thinks you're amazing, but just saying you find that kind of God does in you for it.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Do you want to, when are you going to play your song? Do you want to play your song now at a break? Because I think it'd be good to, in a minute, and then we can come back and answer some of these questions, can't we? Like how, what blocks, and if you've got any other people, we've had four comments already, but if there's other reasons why things you don't serve in the church or you struggle to, we'd love to hear from you. We'll seek to respond after this little song, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Hannah, can you pop that one up for us, please? We've lost our buttons.
What's happening? Oh, it's all died. Nothing's working. Dun 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 dun.
We are currently having technical issues.
Okay, well, let's go back to
it doesn't seem to be playing.
Well, let's go back to where we were then, shall we?
Yeah.
There we go. Pick up the conversation again then. We'll
Okay, Hannah can see if she can fix the problem with the song. So let's pick up on some of these comments then, right? So just quickly, I think this is what Grace is just. Jesus deliberately made himself the servant king, which is just, I think, great point, Grace. Really, that's the thing, is that we serve because Jesus. I was reading this morning actually about Jesus washing the disciples' feet. And this attitude of Jesus says, you've heard it said, and actually Jesus comes and says, I'm going to wash your feet, I'm going to do the dirty job. So there's something spiritual about that. But let's pick up one or two of these things. So Nikki says, I don't want to overcommit myself as I already volunteer for my guide and brownie unit. So yeah, for sure, one of the big things that stops people serving is they're worried about being overcommitted. How would you say to people that are a bit like that?
I think that's an absolutely legitimate reason to be wary of volunteering to do more. God doesn't want us to be like on our knees and crawling and scraping together, and God hasn't designed us to be worked off our feet. But on the flip side of that, God gives us the energy that we need to do the things that he's asked us to do. And quite often that means that part of growing in God and part of knowing God for ourselves is that actually God takes us to the edge of what we can do ourselves. So there may be the physical barrier of you don't have time to fit stuff in, but energy wise and ability wise, I think if you I think it's wise to pray about things before you take them on if they're big things. But little things, I think actually, if you're listening to Jesus and you've got the Holy Spirit like in you, then quite often you know whether you should do something actually. And sometimes you have to step out and do things, isn't it? God doesn't ask us to do massive things if we don't have capacity to do them.
Yeah, and I think it's a challenge that I think many people face, and it's so great. So like Nikki, this bold kind of girl, guides and brownies. I know I've had some nice chats with her about that, and she does a fantastic job with that. And it's again, we don't want to be people who are sort of insular and Christian ones, so we only kind of worry about what we do. And I think it's great to have Christians in these kind of things and be the sort of Jesus in those situations. And I think sometimes, it's not, Jesus doesn't say, well, that's it, stop everything else, just do stuff for me. And I think, as kind of Anna said, it is a difficult balance to know. And I think at the same time, we mustn't be like, it's easy to be, I must be super involved with everything. And I think it's that thing that actually, there's also a sense of freedom in Jesus. And so we don't need to be like, I must be on every single rota at church, or I must be involved in like every single opportunity. And I think actually people who do that, it's not kind of being super helpful to them or to it. And I think really for someone like Nikki, in someone Nikki's situation, I think to think about it and say, well, how can I do it now? And it said it's a good idea to sort of pray. And this is where we'd really encourage people to, as Alice has said, to say, well, Jesus, what do you want me to do? And that's the problem. You don't have to have some sort of clever thing. And it might be that Jesus says, no, it's all good. You just chill, enjoy it. And other times you might say, well, why don't you kind of help out at tea and coffee, or why don't you do this, or why don't you pray? Yeah. And I think sometimes we can think of serving as what often we talked about, we got to give up your time. And sometimes it's just little things like drop people a message, or like give people a phone call, or maybe like someone like Nikki might have a bit of time in the day, but the weekends are super busy. And so you like think, well, on a Sunday, I'm just going to come to church, enjoy it. But in that week, I'm going to try and make an effort.
And I think the other thing is that, to clarify, is that giving up and serving and volunteering isn't just on a Sunday morning. Like that is not what, it's a lifestyle. Really, the Christianity and following Jesus is in a way, it's a lifestyle choice, isn't it? It's a life choice. Yeah. It's, that's what you're choosing to follow Jesus. And so actually it should run through every part of you, which means that actually volunteering at Brownies or Guides or Boys Brigade or wherever, actually you are supporting other people. And the way that we do that, and the attitude and the heart that we have when we're serving in those places, even if they're not church places or Christian environments, actually when we do that, we're bringing Jesus with us.
Yeah. I think it's worth just saying though. I think one thing you have to be careful of is with all these things is you can say, oh, I'm too busy I'm too busy to kind of serve in the church. But actually the reality is when you take a look at what you're doing, like you're at the gym 5 times a week, and you're busy doing things that in reality are just for yourself, or you're serving in places that you're serving out in other places because you feel guilty, or and really I think it's important sometimes just to stop and take a look and say, actually, like if I say I don't have time, like at the family of God, and I know that maybe not everybody will agree with me on this, but I'll say anyway, the family of God is your eternal family, and it's important that you are finding, I think it's really important that all Christians are finding space to serve in some way in the context of the church. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to do as much as Mark and Alice does. But actually, I think if you're not finding any time to serve in the church, I think you've got to ask yourself a question about where your priorities are. Now, there are some people in certain circumstances and situations, single mothers. I mean, Charlotte has written up on there, and we'll put Charlotte's comment up in a minute. And I think, very legitimately, if you've got 3 kids and you haven't, it's hard. It's hard to serve in that way. But even in that, I think there's opportunity, because there's such richness that comes out of serving. So it's good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So Tracy says, the reason I don't serve is because Tracy does actually, by the way, serve a lot in our church. She's amazing. So she helps with toddlers. She does teas and coffees, and she's in I think kids rotas and other things like that. So yeah, she does loads. And she opens up a home for home group. So Trace, don't worry, you're doing a great job. But she says sometimes what stopped her is a lack of confidence or self-esteem and negative experience of volunteering in the past. I think this thing about lack of confidence is really important, I think. You know, often, you know, it's all right for people who've been in church their whole life and they know exactly how everything operates. But often you can think, oh, I'm just not good enough to do it. Have you seen that in other people you've met before, Alice?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's an easy one. And I think depending on your character, you're more willing to push through that feeling than others. If you're not confident in something, like you, Tim, would be like, yes, I'm all over this. I lack confidence, but I want to grow. Whereas I would shrink away a bit more before attempting something. So I think it is a character thing as well, but it comes back to God gives you what you need. Actually.
I think sometimes, again, there's this challenge that God wants to do in us. Like God, when he calls us to be Christians and to know him, it's not about, well, I'm just going to kind of coddle you and just look after you. He's like, no, he wants to grow us and to take us on. And in some ways, he wants to put us in situations which are uncomfortable. Yeah. And I mean, look at Jesus' life and what he did just look at the way he looks after the disciples. And he challenged them a lot. And I think this is part of the calling of being a Christian, is you're called not only to relationship, but to challenge. And I think part of this is that you get put in situations or you kind of think, oh, I can't do this. I mean, someone today was talking about going on a mission trip going to Greece. And you think, well, for some people, that would be a major kind of
discomfort.
But you think it's good, because I think we go through those really difficult times, as we were kind of hearing about this morning, but partly God wants us, because that's the moment where we kind of cry out to Jesus, or I say, God, I really need your help. Because all the time we're doing the things which we find really easier in our comfort zone. In some ways we don't really need God. And God's looking for us to become more and more reliant on him. Right, and he sometimes wants us to ask us to do things and to serve in ways which is uncomfortable. And it may be that we're like, as we were just talking about, I don't have time, but I know God wants me to do this. And so it's that challenge of, Lord, you've got to help give me the energy and the strength to do this, or I've got to be involved in the kids ministry, or I've got to be involved in like going out, handing out Bibles in Greece, because it's not saying I would fill me with dread. And I think actually, it's those moments. That's where we kind of really find God in those moments. Yeah. So if we
step out, take a risk. And realize that God can fill it. And I'd also say this, I think sometimes all of it, three of us are quite involved in church leadership. To be honest, just go for it. If you're sitting there thinking, I'm not sure I've got enough confidence, believe me, you do not need to be particularly gifted to do stuff. And generally, like, people are just so happy that you've volunteered that it's really great to be involved. Let me just pick up a similar point, really, but I think kind of, following on from that, Enoch's raised a great one, which is, I think that some people might be dealing with church hurt from the past. That's a great point, Enoch. I think sometimes they come to church and think, I don't want to come. I know I need to go to church because I'm a Christian and I know I need to be with the people of God, but I've been in church before and they burned me out and they used me and abused me, and or maybe and then maybe I was in a church and the pastor turned out to be a dodgemeister and and did bad stuff, or the deacons were basically horrible, and I'm not going back in there again. What would you say to someone that's kind of facing that, thinking, I don't want to get involved, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, no thanks ever again?
I think we have to be honest and say, sometimes Christians have been really bad representations of Jesus. And as I said, that Bible verse that Jesus said, we've got to love one another, and it's got to be different to what the world sees. And sometimes churches in the past have not followed that example at all. I think it's difficult, and it's always sad. And I think really, I know as one of the church leaders, that if somebody had that experience of River, I would be really hurt by it, because in the sense of if we'd got to that place, because I would think we would hate to do that. And I know at River, we love to people. We're not looking for people to be superstars in what they do. They don't have to be like full-time baristas to make us coffee, and so we love it. But
although, if you do make the coffee, I'd love for you to practice some milk foam art. That would be amazing.
So
if you are a barista and you're watching this and you'd find like the church to join, then feel free.
Where are you going then?
There's space available on the River Church Teas Room Coffees Rota.
And I think to answer though to Enoch's question, I think the first thing is you have to realise that that was kind of probably an ungodly situation, or it may have been godly people that just acted badly. I think you need to find Jesus in that and find a place of healing, and realise that unfortunately, people have let people down or been hurtful or stuff's happened. And I think, but it's kind of not trying to hide it under the carpet and say, well, that's it. It's all churches are like that, and I'm just going to do my thing. But I realising that if we did that and we say, well, I'm never going to volunteer again, I'm never going to get involved in church again, it's really, we're missing out, we're missing something, and there is real joy in serving and enjoy being with God's people and giving up yourself for God, as those things we've just talked about. And to say, well, if that's where you're going to stay, you're missing out. And I appreciate that for some people you might need a time to kind of heal and say, I'm not going to go from one church which really hurt me and going to jump into another. You think, well, I might have a year or two to kind of settle, but then it's those times of letting God work for you. And sometimes maybe in a new church where you've got people who you kind of trust and you love and are going to look after you, is to say, look, will you kind of help me through this? And then almost again, it's coming back to this looking for the right time to say, well, God, when do you want me to kind of dip my toes back in it? And maybe being a bit sensible and not saying, right, that's it, I'm all over it, I've healed of the past, that's it, I'm going to kind of go full on, like sign me up to every road to be. So, okay, well, maybe right, I'll kind of get involved like this, or I do that, and kind of doing it. But I think most of all, you've got to realise that if we live in that hurt, we're not experiencing what God has for us. We're not experiencing the life and the joy that God's got through being part of a family, being part of a church, and loving that. And I think that, we don't want to be people who miss out. I think we don't want to be Christians, but like that. So
I want to add this point. I think it's just a good little phrase, really, which is, I think healing comes through helping.
Yes,
healing comes through helping. I think actually, if you've been in that situation, sometimes the best thing you can do is get back involved with ordinary people in a healthy church, and I think it makes a huge difference, because suddenly you feel like, I can love again. Oh, who's that? Who's that that's just appeared? Hello, Alyssa, tell me, why should you help in church? Why do we need to help in church?
I have no idea.
She has no idea.
You have no idea. Yeah. Can I just add a point? This isn't a point that anybody has raised, but I think one thing that I just want to say as a church leader, I think sometimes people assume that it's just getting done. But what happens in most churches is it's the same people that do it. And you turn up, or not you say you, but people turn up and they love the Sunday meeting, they love the Sunday service, they love the fact that home group's on, and these events are provided, and isn't it wonderful? But it's the same people that are giving up their time and their energy for that often. There's a famous phrase which is like 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people, which is true, really. And I think it's not. It shouldn't be true. And we try really hard at River Church not to have that the case. We don't want 20% of the people doing 80% of the work. It should really be a family effort, a team effort. And I think one of the reasons sometimes people don't volunteer or get involved is because they just sort of think, oh, it's already being done. What's there? There's no need for me. But there's a good chance that there is definitely a need for you. Because like the people that are doing it would quite happily have a couple of weeks off a month from doing that kind of stuff. But actually, you'd be doing them a huge service by coming in and offering to serve and give up your time in that way. So just an encouragement. If you think there's no space for you, believe me, there is. Let's just chop up a couple of these other comments, which I think are just helpful, and we can just maybe riff off them just briefly before we wind this up. But Marie said, it's serving is about fulfilling our talents to serve our community and give others the opportunity to know Jesus for themselves. Yeah, I think it's a lot about using their talents. I just want to just follow that with Charlotte's one, which says, I love serving as it's using the gifts that God has given me. I feel that God gave me these gifts to use them for me to share and use with others to enable me to further his name. So again, I think people are catching it, aren't they? It's good. And again, let's just pick up Tracy. She says, I've met some lovely people and made some great friends through volunteering. Though I don't want to overcommit either. It's something I really struggle with, especially having trouble overcommitting and saying no, especially having been told I'm not allowed to say no in the past. People do have a problem sometimes saying no, don't they? They're worried that if they say yes, that they've got to forward say yes to everything.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes on that. Yeah, it's important to say no to the right things in that. But I think the point Marie and Charlotte are making, Tim, I think it's a really, really great point, really, about, yeah, it's God's made us and he's given us gifts and stuff. And as you say, Tim, about almost the whole church loses out when people don't get involved. And as I said, sometimes if you've got 20% of people doing 80% of the work, you've only got 20% of the gifting being used. And I think, it's great to kind of get to do it. And it's so encouraging as well to see other people. And it's a real blessing for people to kind of get involved, whatever it is they can do. And again, it's great. I think when that happens. And again, we talked about why Bible Church, Tim, is kind of, this is part of the outworking of it, is that people come in and they see a place where it's not like two people are doing everything and everyone else is just kind of moaning about why it's rubbish. But you see a whole group of people coming in and just getting stuck in, and yet we may not be the best doing everything, but people are loving it and people are really encouraged, but like people are really appreciating it. And it's that kind of, we're seeing, because ultimately we're going to be serving God for eternity, so it's nice to get a bit of a flavour for it now.
It's good. So should we I'll finish one last question and then I can hand back to you guys, really. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, maybe I should be a bit more involved in church, maybe I should get a bit more involved in serving, whether it's just serving in the church or in serving in some way, in caring for people, kind of as part of your Christian ministry. Let's make sure we don't just get focused on just the church in that sense. But what would you say to someone?
So we got a massive kid screaming. So
I shall go do it.
So say that again. Just what's the kind of sum up the question again?
So the summary is, someone's thinking about volunteering in their and area. What should they do? How can someone get involved in their church?
I think just go for it. I mean, almost go and speak to sort of the pastor or the kind of person in kind of charge and say, I'd love to come and help. Like, how can I help, really? I think, as you say, it's very rare being a church leader, someone just comes up and says, I just want to help. And I think it's a blessing to them, really. And it's great. I'm sure for any church leaders, I don't think you get many church leaders, or certainly you shouldn't get any church leaders or say, oh, no, we don't need any help, kind of go away. Because I think for us, even if we had to fall, like our rotas were fully full and we got everything, and someone can kind of come and help, I'm like, oh, we can kind of get people involved. And I think that's the thing. It's just I think that's what we've been kind of saying through the night, really. Let's not be people who kind of hold back, and that we're not saying of everything, but that just, if you're, as I said, if you're kind of a Christian, or maybe you're thinking, and this is sometimes maybe people watching this who aren't Christians can kind of look at that and think, oh, it sort of sounds like a big deal. But I think it'd be one of those things you go and you do it, and then once you are or doing it, I think you find, I think we lost Tim now, I just keep talking. I think you find that there's something amazing in doing that. And so really my thing would be just go for it. Like, don't worry about holding back or kind of don't let kind of a barrier, just go and chat to someone and say, I'd love to help. How can I help? Yeah.
Good. You can hear me all right?
I can hear you all right, Tim. That's good.
That's good. All right. Should we just pray then to finish, Mark?
Yeah, that'd be great. Good. Shall I pray, or do you want to pray, Tim? We should probably.
Go on, you pray. I think your internet connection is probably better than mine.
Jesus, Lord. Father, we thank you, Lord, for your example. Lord, Tim shared the story of Jesus coming to wash his disciples' feet, Lord, which is really kind of a weird thing to do, Lord, even in the whole context of the cultural thing, Lord. Lord, you would just never see it anywhere. If someone like really important coming to do something as menial as that. Thank you that that's your example for us to follow. That's a challenge for us. So thank you that you are looking to challenge us as your people and as Christians. And it's a good thing, though, because you're looking to take us on. You're not looking to just us to kind of make up the numbers, but to really get involved. And we thank you, that when we do it, Lord, it is something that you do something in us. And it is something that I know for me, my story is that I'm someone who's naturally quite selfish, and yet I just love to go and get involved with these things and to serve you and to serve others and to love others. And it's something you've done in me, and it's something that's joyful. And so we just pray, Lord, for anybody who's kind of, I'm a bit kind of nervous or maybe just struggling a bit. I pray that they would just jump in and just go and help some way, and they would kind of work out a way to do it, Lord, and just serve and just rejoice in the fact, Lord, that's following your example, Lord, of just going to serve, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Good. It's all out our grandchild, which is good.
One
Good.
sorted. There we go. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Next week we have got Chris Spicer joining us, and
Well, I say people want to know who he is.
You can Google him.
It's good. He's actually an author.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to kind of bring out the big guns for this next subject. So he's a guy that Tim sort of met on a kind of business, a kind of Christian business thing. And he's really, we've known him for a long time now. He's really good, like somebody who really loves the Lord and really loves reading his Bible. And we thought he'd be really great to kind of get on and talk about why bother in your Bible? Like, why bother?
Indeed. So that is next Sunday at 8 o'clock on our Facebook and our YouTube. In the meantime, we will let you get on with your evenings. Thank you for coming. If there is something that we can pray for you in between, then please do let us know on our social media or on our WhatsApp, which is there now. Let's get rid of that. There we go. So yes, you can Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp message us. That's absolutely fine. Or email us, and we will respond to you. We'd love to hear from you. If you are in the local area, we are restarting walking groups, and also we have a mental health group, which we do every kind of 5-6 weeks-ish. Which, if those things would be helpful
to you, every week,
if you want to get out and walk with other people, then come see us, come find us. If you'd like a coffee or a chat or a phone call or any of those things as well, we would love to hear from you. We're actually normal people, so we can do that, and we would love to be normal with you. So yes, thank you, and we will. Yeah,
we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. It's still light outside, which is nice. That's good. No, hope you have a really good week.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.